Multiplying and dividing fractions. Important stuff. You want to be able to deal with fractions. So let's get started. There's two very important things to remember. If you watch the adding and subtracting fractions video, you remember there was two important things to remember in that one too. And they're kind of opposites for multiplying and dividing. In the adding and subtracting, point number one was that you need a common denominator. For multiplying and dividing fractions, you don't need a common denominator. Now, if you do get a common denominator, you can still get the right answer. But in my experience, most people who get common denominators when they multiply and divide, they don't end up with the right answer. And the reason is because you end up with these big numbers that are hard to multiply and hard to simplify into lowest terms. So don't get common denominators when you have multiplying and dividing fractions, unless they already are common denominators, but don't change them. Okay, the second point when we did adding and subtracting was that you don't need to switch mixed fractions into improper fractions. And now for multiplying and dividing fractions, you must switch mixed fractions into improper fractions. You have to do that. Now, there are some rather complicated ways to solve multiplying and dividing questions without switching them into improper, but almost nobody does that. It's a lot of extra work, I would say, unless your name is Dennis R., in which case I remember when you were in grade 8, Dennis, you loved doing that, but I don't recommend it. Make sure you remember the difference between mixed fractions and improper. This is a mixed fraction because there's a whole number and a fraction, so it makes it a mixed fraction. And we could switch that into an improper fraction. 3 times 5 is 15, plus 2 is 17 over 5. This is an improper fraction. Improper because the top number is bigger than the smaller number. The top number is bigger than the bottom number. Improper is an unfortunate word. There's nothing wrong with this fraction. Improper makes it sound like there's something wrong. There's nothing wrong with that fraction. Okay, let's get started. We have six examples to do. First example, multiplying. We'll do 3 multiplying, 3 dividing. Okay, first example, 2/5 times 8/9. All right, do we have common denominators? No. Do we need common denominators? No. This is a multiplying question. You don't need common denominators. So we're ready to proceed. How do you multiply fractions? Multiply across the top, multiply across the bottom. So we have 2 times 8 is 16, 5 times 9, 45. We have finished the question. You should look to see if you can put this in the simplest form. Lowest terms, is there something you can divide top and bottom by? No, the only thing you can divide them by is 1, so that doesn't do anything. So we're finished. Next question, 3.5 times 4 2/3. Okay, please do not go 3 times 4 is 12 and then multiply the fractions. It doesn't work. You must, remember point 2 up here, you must switch mixed fractions into improper fractions. So we have to change the 3.5 into an improper fraction. All right, 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7 over 2, times 4 times 3, we got to switch this one too, right? We got to switch this into improper. 4 times 3 is 12, times 2 is 14 over 3. Okay, now we're ready to go. You can multiply across the top and multiply across the bottom. But I also want to remind you that you can also simplify before you do the multiplying. You don't need to do this, but it might be a little bit easier to do your simplifying before you multiply and get these big numbers. So remember, if you're going to simplify, some teachers call it cross-canceling, because it's often the numbers that are across from each other that you try to cancel, but it can also be the numbers right on top of each other. So as long as you can find one denominator and one numerator that you can simplify, divide by the same thing, then you're allowed to simplify them. So in this case, I can see that the 2 and the 14, I can divide those both by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 14 divided by 2 is 7. And now we're ready to go. You can't simplify anything else, right? There's nothing that goes into 7, 3, 3 and 2. So we're good to go. 7 times 7 is 49. 1 times 3 is 3. and we're finished. If you want, you can switch it into a mixed fraction, but I'm more than happy if you just leave it like that. In many ways, it's almost better for a lot of the stuff we're doing this year. Okay, moving pretty quick here. Question number 3. 7 times 2 2/5. 7. What are we going to do with this 7 when we're dealing with fraction? Well, you want to turn it into a fraction. So what's 7 as a fraction? 7 as a fraction is 7 over 1. Any whole number you can make a fraction by putting over 1, right? What's 15 as a fraction? 15 over 1. 98 is a fraction? 98 over 1. Okay, good. Times. Got to switch this to improper. 2 times 5 is 10. Plus 2 is 12. 12 over 5. Can we do any simplifying? Is there a number on the top and the bottom that you can simplify? No, there's not. So we're good to go here. 7 times 12 is 84. Just multiply the numerators together. 1 times 5 is 5. We're finished. If you want, you can put it into a mixed fraction, but this is totally okay to leave it like that. All right, I think that's about all I have to say for multiplying. Let's go on to dividing. Whoops, let's not do that yet. Let's do this. There we go. Okay, dividing. Let's start with 3/8 divided by 1/6. Okay, there's different ways to divide. You could get common denominators. I think I showed some of you that in grade 8. But the way that almost everyone divides is, what do, people? You remember this. You keep the first fraction the same. You change this dividing sign right here. You're going to change it into a multiplying sign. And this second fraction, you're going to flip it over. You're going to take the reciprocal. Do you remember this word? Reciprocal, which means flip it over. So you're going to flip over 1 over 6, which gives you 6 over 1. Now, if this was a grade 8 or 9 class, I would now go into why this works, why we do this dividing by a fraction. Like, how come why we do this multiplying by the reciprocal, it's a question many people have. Well, why does that work? Why does when you divide by a fraction, do you multiply and flip it? But I'm not going to get into it right now. It takes a little while to explain, and the purpose of these videos is to give you something to refer to remember how to divide fractions. If you're interested and you don't remember from grade 8 and 9, of course, you can ask me, and I'd love to show you why it works when you divide by a fraction to flip it into multiplying by the reciprocal. Okay, for now, let's go. You could go 3 times 6 is 18, and 8 times 1 is 8, and then simplify. But why don't we try to simplify before? Now, be careful here. Sometimes people get excited here, and they say that 3 and 6 could be simplified. I'll show you. They go like this. 3 and 6. Divide 3 by 3, I get 1. Divide 6 by 3, I get 2. Yay. Can you do that? No, you cannot. So let me undo those steps. You can only simplify if you find one number on the top, one numerator, and one denominator that you can simplify. These are both numerators. You can't do that. But we do have one numerator and one denominator we could simplify. What can we divide 6 and 8 by? How about 2? 6 divided by 2 is 3. 8 divided by 2 is 4. We are ready to go. 3 times 3 is 9. That was weird. 9. And 4 times 1 is 4. Finished. If you want, you can make it 2 1/4, but 9 over 4 is fine. Okay, next one. 4 and 2/5. Mixed fraction divided by 2 and 8/15 equals. Okay, remember, when we multiply and divide, you want to switch your fractions into improper fractions. If you have mixed fractions, switch them to improper. Do that first. Don't do any flipping or anything. This is where people always get into problems when they're dividing fractions. They try to save steps and do the flipping in the first step as well. I wouldn't do that. I would switch them both. So 4 times 5 is 20, plus 2 is 22 over 5. Divided. A lot of people don't like doing this. They like putting multiplying already and trying to do the flipping. I don't recommend it. Okay, if you're good at it, go for it. But if you want to be safe, just do the switching into improper right now. 2 times 15 is 30, plus 8 is 38 over 15. You see, I have not flipped it yet. Now I'll do the flipping. 22 over 5, we never touch the first fraction. This dividing sign is becoming a multiplying sign, And this isn't 38 over 15 anymore. It's the reciprocal of that, which is 15 over 38. Okay, this is a very good example of why it's nice to do the cross-canceling or the simplifying before you multiply. I don't want to multiply 22 times 15, and I don't want to multiply 5 times 38. Those are too big. I mean, you can do it. You'll get the right answer, but why don't we look for things you could simplify? Okay, well, I see I could simplify these two things. What can I divide those both by? How about 5? 5 divided by 5 is 1. 15 divided by 5 is 3. Anything else you can divide? Yes, you can divide both of these by something. How about by 2? 22 by 2 is 11, and 38 divided by 2 is 19. Wow, this is a lot easier to multiply now. Now I only have 11 times 3 is 33. Uh-oh, supposed to have done it in black. 33. And 1 times 19 is 19. If you do all the simplifying before you multiplying, you'll never have to put this in lowest terms. You know why? It'll already be in lowest terms. But if you'd forgotten to do say you only did this first one that got the 1 and 3 here, and you forgot to do the 11 and 19, that's okay. You'll still get the right answer. You'll just have to do a little more simplifying once you get your answer here. So make sure you look at your answer here and ask yourself, is there something I can divide 33 and 19 by? In this case, no. It's done. That's great. We're in lowest terms. Finished. Last one. 5 and 2/3 divided by 4 equals. Okay. 5 and 2/3. Let's switch that to improper. We have to, right? Can't divide with mixed fractions. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 2 is 17 over 3. Now, again, some of you are going to try to do this in one step, and go for it if you don't make mistakes, but I'm going to be very careful about this. I'm going to keep the dividing sign and ask myself, what's 4 as a fraction? Because I need that to be a fraction. Well, it's 4 over 1. Now I'll do the flipping step. I think we have less chance to make mistakes if we do it in 2 steps like this. And come on, it doesn't take that much more work. Okay, keep the first fraction the same, 17 over 3. Dividing sign becomes the time sign. Reciprocal of 4 over 1 is 1 over 4. Is there anything you can simplify? 17 and 3, 17 and 4, 1 and 4. No, nothing. There's nothing you can simplify. So multiply across the top, 17. 17. Multiply across the bottom. 3 times 4 is 12. And we're finished. If you want, you can make it mixed, but you don't have to. All right? That's it. I just want to... Darn it. I just want to show one last thing. Let's say we were doing... Oh, boy. Okay. Let's say we were doing 12 over 15 times 20 over 28. I just want to show you how much simplifying you could do here. You could do 12 times 20 right now and 15 times 28, but you're going to get big numbers. We don't want to do that. So we're going to pick one number on the top and one number on the bottom we could simplify. Do you see you could simplify these two, 12 and 15. You could do these two, 12 and 28. You could do these two, 20 and 15. You could do these two, 20 and 28. You got all sorts of options. Which one's the best option? I don't know. Just try any of them. Let's do this one. Divide 15 and 20 both by 5, right? So we're left with 3. Divide 20 by 5, you get 4. Okay, how about doing this pair here now? Divide both of those guys by 4. 12 divided by 4 is 3. 28 divided by 4 is 7. Do you see there's even more simplifying you could do here? Yes, I could divide this 3 and this 3. That's one number on the top, one number on the bottom. I could divide them both by something. What can I divide them both by? How about 3? 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 3 divided by 3 is 1. Now we can get our final answer. It's very easy. 1 times 4 is 4. It should be in black again. I don't know why I care so much, but... And 1 times 7 is 7. So we got our final answer. Okay, very quick. And just to show you, I didn't have to do it that way. You could do all sorts of different simplifying methods here. Let's say this time I simplify these ones first. 12 and 15, I could divide them both by 3. So that'd be 4 and 5. And then I could divide these two. Divide them both by 2. I get 10, and I get 14. Hey, look, I could do all sorts of stuff still. I could divide. Oh, I didn't go far enough. I should have divided by 4 here. But that's okay. Let's just keep going. So I made a mistake. Who cares? It still works. Let's simplify these ones. I wanted green. Let's simplify these ones. This and this. Divide them both by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 10 divided by 5 is 2. Now what do you want to simplify? How about we could do 4 and 14, or we could do 2 and 14. Which one? Doesn't matter. How about 4 and 14? Divide them both by 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 14 divided by 2 is 7. Nothing else you can do. You cannot simplify this 2 and 2 because they're both numerators. We're ready to get our answer. 2 times 2 is 4. 1 times 7 is 7. Okay, I think this simplifying is a really good skill to learn. As I said, a lot of teachers call it cross-canceling, but I'm not a big fan of calling it cross-canceling because, as you see, they don't have to be across from each other. I don't know how to spell cross-canceling, apparently. So anyway, if you could learn that, that'd be fantastic. All right, wonderful day to you all.